Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto, and today guys we are taking a cheeky look at both Cardano and Polkadot and trying to compare the two to see which one you might want to choose if you only had the ability to have one of them. Obviously me and Chris, we're invested in both projects, but we're going to give you a bit of a breakdown as to which one might be a better choice for yourselves. And obviously we still recommend that you do your own research, dig deep into both projects and come to your own conclusions. We're just going to give you a bit of an overview of our thoughts and opinions on Cardano versus Polkadot. So as always, if you find it useful, informative, do go ahead and smash that like button. Chris really does appreciate it, as do I. And if by chance you're new to the channel and not yet subscribed, do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with all the videos and live streams that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And of course, Chris, it wouldn't be a Cardano video if we did not mention our Cardano staking pool. So as some of you will be aware, we've launched our new Cheeky Crypto staking pool, and you can delegate your ADA into that pool via the Deadliest wallet, the Atomic wallet, or the Uri wallet, very simply by searching for the ticker Cheek. And yeah, it'd be fantastic to have you join us, and we'll be minting blocks together in no time at all. Right, Chris, with all that said, let's jump on over to the desktop and start comparing a little bit of the Cardano network to the Polkadot network.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. I'm looking forward to this one, Nick.
Absolutely. So ultimately, our goal here today is to compare Cardano to Polkadot. Okay, so let's kind of give a bit of an overview and see what's going on, right? So there's been lots of posts and lots of comments in our live streams and various videos asking about a comparison for Cardano to Polkadot. And I think ultimately it's a really good question, and sometimes people get confused over which one is slightly better than the other. And there's also a lot of, I guess, FUD out there about Polkadot being a copy of Cardano, and that is not necessarily the truth either. There's definitely elements that are contained in Polkadot from Cardano, but there's also things from Algorand that are also incorporated in Polkadot. So I think there's ultimately a very complex, you're always going to borrow and steal ideas from many different areas when you start developing something like Polkadot or Cardano or even Algorand. So they all have unique parts to them. So let's take a look and see, why things might be slightly, or let's just have a look at some of these comparisons, right? So, and by no stretch in the imagination are we an expert in Cardano or an expert in Polkadot. These are just our research has indicated certain things, and we kind of just highlight that to you a little bit. And some of these numbers that I'm going to quote today may be slightly off depending on when we record this video versus when you're watching it, etc. So they might not be 100% accurate depending on when you watch it. So let's take a look at a breakdown of Cardano versus Polkadot, right? So let's talk about nodes for a second. So the if I just so the nodes for Cardano, Chris, they come in at around the 1400 nodes, okay? Whereas Polkadot has validator nodes, dot nodes as they're referred to, about 277. So significantly lower than that of Cardano. So Cardano kind of comes out top when you start talking about nodes. And obviously nodes are an important factor in decentralization. And we'll probably talk more about that as this video progresses. But let's talk a little bit about delegators. Obviously, we have our own Cardano staking pool, which owners of ADA can delegate into, right? So Cardano in itself has approximately 120 or so thousand delegators. Whereas on the Polkadot network, they refer to them as nominators or dot delegators, and there's about 7,000 of those. So vastly different again in comparison to Cardano. So from a decentralization perspective, straight away we know that there's more nodes that are in existence for Cardano than there are validators and nodes for Polkadot. And also with that would come serious numbers of delegators. So Cardano has a much broader perspective of delegators than something like Polkadot. Okay, so straight away they're easy to compare the two on that premise. But we can go a little bit deeper than that, and we can say, okay, well, for Cardano here, we can say a single node operators, there's about 800 to 900 of them, right? So that's a significant number when it comes to decentralization. Obviously, single node operators make the network more decentralized rather than a single entity or organization having multiple nodes, right? So straight away, we can say that there's approximately 1,000 or so, just under 1,000 single node operators on Cardano, and that's only ever going to grow because of the way that parameter K is set up within Cardano. Ideally, they're trying to limit the number of ADA that gets delegated to a single pool, thus spinning up additional pools, creating a wider decentralization aspect of the network, right? Polkadot, on the other hand, Polkadot, from a single node operator perspective, is somewhere around the 100, 150, somewhere in that sweet spot. So ultimately, it's a lot less, single node operators for Polkadot than there are for Cardano. And as a factor of that, you end up with a less decentralized network. So you have to consider these things depending on where you sit. Now, if we hop back over to the Cardano side of things, we can then start thinking about a return on investment. Cardano's return on investment is around the 700%, whereas Polkadot is currently around 200 or so %. So significantly different as well from a return on investment perspective. Straight away, you can see that Cardano not only has got more nodes, more delegators, also more single node operators, but has a higher return on your investment. Whereas currently, as the situation stands for Polkadot, there are less nodes out there, there's less delegators out there, there's less single node operators, less decentralized, and has a lower return on investment. It doesn't seem to be stacking up very well for Polkadot at this particular point in time. That being said, I think it's a good point, Chris, to actually mention now that we are invested in, Polkadot and Cardano. I don't want this video to be very highly negative of Polkadot. They do fantastic things. But ultimately, when you start comparing these two things together, it does come across quite negative for Polkadot. But let's talk a little bit more maybe about the Reddit users, right? And the community that's around Cardano. So Cardano is about 100,000 Reddit users approximately in that zone. And just thinking about what that looks like from a community perspective, it is quite vast when you start comparing it to Polkadot. Polkadot is around about 7,000 to 10,000 in that sweet spot there. So it's basically 1/10 of the community size that Cardano has, at least from a Reddit perspective. I think it's really hard to get definitive numbers on it, but ultimately, if we just look at it from one single place like Reddit, then ultimately Cardano has to win that contest. And Chris, it's probably really important to talk about Treasury. This is something that Cardano does incredibly well. And it's not to say that Polkadot doesn't do it well either. It's just the level of that Cardano operates in comparison makes these numbers seem quite vast. So the on-chain treasury for Cardano sits at $40.7 million, whereas for Polkadot, the on-chain treasury sits at $13.3 million. So again, significantly lower. It's basically just over a quarter of the way there, right? So it is a bit of a problem in the sense of what they're going to be able to do with that treasury fund to provide I guess development for the network, right? So Cardano has huge funds that are continuously building up, and they're able to do things with Project Catalyst quite well. Now, if we hop back over to the Cardano aspect of things and we start thinking about that decentralization, obviously they have those more nodes, they have the more delegators. And when we talk about that delegation and that decentralization for Cardano, 67.8%, I think this has actually increased to 69% or close to that 70 level now, of ADA is actually delegated and staked, right? So out of circulating supply, such a large chunk of ADA basically earning people passive income, right? Which is absolutely fantastic. It helps provide, utility to the network and continues to grow the Cardano blockchain. if we think about the same kind of aspect, how much of Polkadot's dot token is actually staked and delegated, that comes in at 63-65%, somewhere in that zone. So ultimately, they're kind of coming up short against Cardano in this aspect. But that's to be said, it's still a significant percentage being delegated there on the Polkadot's blockchain. So I don't want that to come across negative. That's quite a nice amount of decentralization happening on Polkadot. It's just not quite up to the same standard as Cardano, as I believe Cardano is the world's most decentralized blockchain at this point in time. So yeah, I guess, Chris, it's going to be now a good time to talk about various different points of interest, right? So Cardano is, funded upon years of scientific peer-reviewed research, and unfortunately Polkadot doesn't have that, right? And that peer-reviewed research is so critical in the way that Cardano has been built. It's been built from the ground up, and it's been built with that peer research, kind of that scientific peer research actually happening beforehand. So, there are certain things that, except for the aspects of their, consensus model that may have been copied from Cardano. And that's the part that, you have to, take with a pinch of salt. You're going to borrow certain things from certain areas and build your blockchain that way. So Polkadot is not, peer reviewed. And the, I guess the only real exception is the consensus model. So Gavin Wood's team accidentally lost $150 million during their ICO launch due to a self-admitted incompetent novice coding, locking the funds up indefinitely. And that was a major issue, and yeah, but it's good that, you can own it and move on from that. Looking through the list of validators, there are 277 for Polkadot, and you have to also think about how some operators are running multiple nodes, and this is true for Cardano, of course, as well. But ultimately, we cannot have a huge centralization of nodes in one entity. You have problems when that happens, and you have that whole argument with Bitcoin and China, for example. And of course, when you look at those nodes for Polkadot, then it really does come down to a handful of people, right? And you have Zug Capital, Able, the Wanderer, who's running 21 nodes. P2P.org is running 16 nodes. Hypersphere is running 7 nodes, and Binance is running 5 nodes. So ultimately, it's a large amount of the nodes on Polkadot are run by just a very small handful. So very, very frustrating nonetheless. But Treasury info is also interesting when we start comparing these two things together. The numbers, were sourced from the recent publicly available information that we could find. And if these are wrong, then do let us know in the comments. But Polkadot doesn't seem to solve governance on its native chain, and trying to partially outsource the governance to a project called Kusuma, whose website talks about having new people get matching tattoos to be part of their chain's secret society. So who knows what's actually going on there. And I know there's lots of talk when it comes to Polkadot being heavily pumped from China as well. I don't know how much true that is or not true. I would be cautious. I'm invested in Polkadot, but not as much as I am with Cardano. And hopefully this video kind of illustrates why we're more involved with Cardano than Polkadot. So Cardano's fund is, ever rising, and that's fantastic, specifically in comparison to Polkadot's. So, it will eventually get to $70 million, a month or more. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic future for ADA and the value of ADA. But obviously, the higher ADA goes, the higher that Treasury fund will also go. Polkadot has, to rely on a part of, slashing the portion of its funding source. So very frustrating. But Gavin Wood was a big force behind Solidity, which is the development language used by Ethereum, and also a big reason for the dozens and dozens of large-scale smart contract exploits, hacks, and that people have lost millions of dollars because of them. Whereas Cardano's smart contracts will be able to be audited automatically to help ensure the accuracy of the code and that they do what they're intended to do. And obviously, it's fantastic that Polkadot and Ethereum and all these other places have smart contracts, but they are based on a system that may be not ideal. Whereas the system that's being built, you have Plutus, Marlowe, all in that Goguen era of Cardano is going to be absolutely massive, and there's a huge opportunity here for Cardano to absolutely nail this one on time. In doing so, will be a fantastic launchpad for the Cardano network. So Polkadot's claim to fame are the parachains, right? It's trying to be the chain that all other chains connect to via bridges that allow them to interact while providing them with added security. Cardano has its own novel approach. So this is the NIPOPOW. I'm not going to say that right, but basically it's the non-interactive proof of work. And there are many ideas for interoperability floating around, so it's far from being resolved yet. And it's a problem that is being worked on by Cardano, but they are building some bridges such as Litecoin, etc. So it's going to be an interesting time. So let's try to get this into a bit of a summary, Chris, because I feel that I've been quite negative towards Polkadot, and that's not necessarily fair either. But Polkadot has, launched up recently to become a top 10 project, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's now sitting quite, prominently at a relatively high level in terms of market cap, and it definitely does warrant to be in that top 10 position. So Cardano's market cap is, also rising steadily as we are progressing through 2021. So, neither can really, I think both of them definitely need to be in that top 10 position, and one will ultimately win over the other. And my personal opinion here is that it will be Cardano. And I think the other thing to bear in mind is when we always review market cap is it's a not really relevant either. It's not really it only really looks at the circulating supply multiplied by the current price, not the actual value that the tokens were paid for. So sometimes you have to take market cap with a pinch of salt. Marketing hype, manipulation, FUD, intangible process and adoption are the primary drivers behind price, since we are a very, very, very small industry in the grand scheme of things. Ultimately, we have huge strides to go forward. And obviously, the bigger that the market becomes, Chris, the harder it will be for that manipulation to take place. So Cardano, has innovated more than any other project in this space, at least in our opinion, and it has almost 100 peer-reviewed scientific papers accepted by major cryptography conferences worldwide, and is the most cited work in our space. The team behind it is globally diverse, spread across the continent, and we have the most academically impressive and tenured team in the industry, in my opinion. Polkadot is unfortunately in no way, shape or form a competitive threat to Cardano's vision, technology or adoption, and will not impact the success, at least in our opinion, in any way. But obviously, we'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. So if you're thinking that Polkadot actually has a much better chance at beating Cardano, do let us know in the comments down below. We would love to read those. And Chris spends most of his time responding to each and every one of your comments.
Yeah, I do. I love it. It's always fun.
It's always fun. So if you found this video useful, informative, and maybe a little entertaining, do go ahead and smash that like button. Chris really does appreciate it. And if you're still new to this channel and not yet subscribed, do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with all the videos and live streams that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And once again, as we said at the beginning of this video, if you're not delegating your ADA, you're not holding your crypto right. Is that how I say it, Chris?
Yeah, you're not making your money work for you, like you worked for your money. So, get delegating. It'd be much appreciated if you delegate to our pool, obviously with the ticker Cheek. But, if not, that's also okay. But we would love to mint blocks with you.
Absolutely. And with all that said and done, we hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
Take care.